What's good, guys? The Novice back with another review. By the way, I'm testing out a new mic, as you can probably see. So tell me the results when you can. Yeah, I just read some book over the past 2 weeks. Don't know if you heard of it. It's called A Clockwork Orange. Don't know if you can see it in this light. Let's put it closer to the camera. A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Yeah, it's essentially a book. It's a book. I'm gonna read the blurb. I'll just leave it there because I want you guys to read it. 15-year-old Alex doesn't just like ultra violence. He also enjoys rape, drugs, and Beethoven's Ninth. He and his gang rampage through a dystopian future, hunting for terrible thrills. But when Alex finds himself at the mercy of the state and subject to the ministrations of Dr. Brodsky, the government psychologist, he discovers that fun is no longer the order of the day. Mad. Well, the gist of the book is, essentially that guy called Alex, 15-year-old, like, hooligan, gang type, is meant to take place in a dystopian future. And it's just about him, like, criminality in a future like that and the implications and the ethical implications of it. But all that jumbo aside, here's what stuck out to me reading this book. What stuck out to me was the question of choice and what it actually means to be good, and whether you have to be a proactively good person or a person who just doesn't do bad things or maybe thinks about bad things. And that's what stuck out to me, especially because there's something big happens to this character in this book that I want you guys to find out. But if you have read it, you'll know he goes through certain changes, right? And when he goes through these changes, that was when the book was the most interesting for me. I'll just go through why a bit. For example, quotes like his interest, fear of physical pain drove him to an act of self-abasement. And then they're talking about doing experiments to Alex, right? Which, I'm just gonna spoil that. I'll be honest. Something happens to him. I won't say what the effect of it is, but something happens to him. And then they say, these are subtleties. We are not concerned with the motive or the higher ethics. We are concerned only with cutting down crime. This book proposes a future where, in order to get rid of crime, lower crime altogether, people throw certain questions of choice out the window, right? And that's what drove me the most to this book. At first, I just got into it because I wanted to start reading more, and I wanted to get into books other than ones I was accustomed to growing up. Fantasy books, like a Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Alex Rider. Stay tuned. I'm gonna do a review of. There's a TV series of that. I'm gonna do a review of the pilot episode. It's books like that, right? Spy and fantasy novels. So that was what made me start reading it at first. But the thing that kept me in it was, again, the questions of choice, ethics, and then also the slang. The slang is another thing, but I'll get to that. Let me elaborate. When it comes to choice, right? What this book made me think about was the idea of, is it really worth sacrificing that ability to choose between good and bad choices just in order to be like a upstanding part of society? I couldn't stop thinking about it because the extent to which, like, the experiments that Alex goes through, even with things that shouldn't seem bad but he associates with bad things, affect him after these experiments. So it was so weird to me reading this book and thinking, I don't understand, like, the end conclusion. What in a quote unquote ideal scenario for the government, what did they think would happen when they started like I don't know what the word would be, like kind of for rolling through these experiments with more people? What did they think would happen more? I have no idea. All I know is that it almost, you know what it reminded me of? A movie called Equilibrium, starring Christian Bale. Famously, it seems really bad now compared to movies like John Wick and just any decent action movie. But it also just poses interesting questions of what it would be like if any society kind of took it into their own hands to make you stop feeling, so people don't give in to certain impulses, right? I don't know if it's worth it. And I couldn't stop thinking to myself, like, I guess it's because of my personal views. I think that anything, like especially issues going on now with obviously protests around the world because of stuff that because of what happened to George Floyd and the police and all that stuff, you want to make sure. I don't know. I don't know this book. This book has me back and forth. That's the problem. I feel like you want to make sure that people always have the ability to choose for themselves. And I feel like everyone is quick to, especially the foreigners from outside of America, or even within America, everyone's quick to work their finger at America, I say, or any other Western state. You know, you're no good. Why are you so ignorant? I don't understand how you're so and so. But you wouldn't have stuff like, people wouldn't be going there in the first place if there wasn't some kind of attraction to basic civil liberties, right? But then at the same time, that chance to like rid a world of stuff like the kind of things that the kind of acts that Alex commits in this movie. It felt like a movie. I know there's a movie based on this, but it felt like a movie watching it. The chance to kind of get rid of those things that he does, to get rid of people who are like that, is interesting to me. I want to know if that would even be possible, like hypnosis, or to kind of make someone disassociate like pleasure from immoral things. And can you imagine like if they did something like that for pedophiles? Like reverse engineer the lust for prepubescent kids. That may be anyone who figured out how to do that, to with no like side effects, like completely remove someone's lust for children. That man or woman or that team would be they wouldn't just be rich. It was not just a question of money. That would be like a breakthrough in society. Like sociopath people like Hannibal Lecter types. That was what was going through my mind. Like, it's an interesting idea, and that's why I'm so back and forth with it. On paper, the idea of what if there were just like super violent people out there, or people who had a certain lust for truly disgusting things, pedophilia, like serial killing, cannibalism, stuff like that, and you could somehow psychologically take the lust away. But then at what cost, right? That's what this book poses. Like, are you, I don't know, I would want to do it. I would want to see, not this exactly, but I would want to see what it would be like if it were possible to remove, again, because the pedophile was just the lowest of the low. The serial killers still horrible. There's something about kids touching children that is beyond filthy, and that's the thing that leaves me hanging with this book. But lastly, in terms of possible flaws, it was hard to navigate because of the slang. So I had to at one point just go for broke and stop like trying to guess from context, and I just found like a dictionary with all the terms from the book. But for most of the book, even when I got like a dictionary term from, I was still like, I wanted to try and figure it out on my own, and I was still struggling. I admit that. So that was one of the things that I struggled with this book, and I was this is another reason why when Alex is going through the experiments is one of the most interesting parts of this book for me, because they finally explain why he would sound like that and how his peers would sound like that, because there's a certain slang, right? Slav influenced old Cockney rhyming slang, a mix of that goes into the kind of language that he speaks. So some of it was like, okay, I understand from context what this means, but at least I'll say maybe like 70%, no, like 75-25%, I was lost. So lost. But yeah, that's it basically. I like the questions of ethic, the ethical questions it poses, but the slang was hard to navigate. But overall, I love this book. Guys, if you've read it, tell me down below what your thoughts are. Would you read it based on my thoughts on this book? Yeah, Clockwork Orange. Check it out, please. If you like this video, please take a look at my other videos. Apart from that, guys, signing off. Have a good one.